obviously now I would do it very differently, but back in time, you're 24, 23, you're just like, my project is going to save the world. It's the most beautiful project. So obviously all the VCs, they want to invest in us. And then you realize that it's not like this.
This podcast is sponsored by Allfeed, a decentralized blockchain solution for the music industry. Produced by Amplitude Ventures, your partners in early stage music tech. In another collaboration with Music Tech Europe Academy, I'm hanging out with Clémentin Diard, the energy behind Ctrl+Reach. We swap founder war stories and why data-driven ads are reshaping how labels and live promoters reach fans. If you're building in music tech or just love the hustle, you'll want to stick around. Hey guys, and welcome back to the Sound Connections podcast. Today we have Clem from Ctrl+Reach in the studio. Welcome.
Hey, nice to be here. Thank you.
We've been talking together for, a year's time, and I've been following your company on the sidelines. We had a few talks about it, and it's really exciting what you do, Clem. And today's episode is going to be in partnership with Music Tech Europe Academy, where you, I guess, was a participant last year, and they've sort of chosen you as like the shining star, the poster boy. It's all about his story as a startup, and but you do really have an interesting story. So welcome, Clem.
Thank you very much. Yeah, there was a lot of great companies in our selection, so I'm happy to hear.
Amazing. So Clem, for the people who don't know who you are and what Ctrl+Reach does, who are you and what do you do?
So I'm the co-founder of Ctrl+Reach. I used to call Way2M or Your Music Marketing, and we can discuss that a bit later and all the changements. But yeah, basically co-founded the company with three other team members, and I take care mostly of the sales and the overall strategy.
And what's your background? How did you get into music?
So basically, it just started with me wanting to set up a festival when I was a kid. There was this like a beautiful place around where I live, and there was some like Muppet show happening. I was like, hey, like it looks good when I see like a festival on YouTube. Why don't I do that at my own? So that's how I get started. And from that point, I have done like several job or like volunteering related to music. So I like to say like I didn't like probably choose music. I thought it just happened like this, and I turned out to enjoy this. So
yeah, well, it also sounds like entrepreneurship chose you if that's sort of your go-to move if when you're young to actually start something yourself. But before we get into your journey, because most of the talk today is going to be about that and the struggles and the wins and everything in between. But for people who don't know your company, what do you guys do?
So basically, we help companies, mainly record labels, live promoters, and marketing agency to grow the artist audiences and convert those audiences into buyer, basically.
And what do they buy?
So can be stream if you consider this a buy. I mean, that's how we started with recorded music. So converting those audiences into actual streamers. Now we do more and more ticket sales. So the live side of the things has become like a big focus for us. Physical merchandising, and we're about to introduce other verticals as well.
So to some degree, you sort of a marketing layer in between the artist and whoever wants to market to their audience, I guess.
Yeah, I think like the idea to say it differently is to say, okay, there is an artist, and around the artist there is different partners, can be record label, live agent, manager, etc. So our job is to make sure that whoever is using our platforms or whoever is working around the artist ecosystem, we make sure that they have the right data and that they can collaborate and not just like working in silo, each on their own.
I want to understand sort of your journey into this. And you said you sort of dabbled with festivals as a young person and volunteering, but you just don't, go and start a startup. What led up to you choosing to go into creating a company?
So I basically like only not create company, but like create projects. I mean, the festival was like a first project. And then it was just like opportunities, I guess, things that were just coming like, hey, help me to find some gigs, and hey, do you want to manage me, and all this kind of stuff. So I think it was like a lot of opportunities, and I just took everything I was able to get. And so that eventually led me to move to Paris. Actually, the story is that one of the artists I invited in my festival, his manager turned out to come from the same hometown as I. So we connected from that point, and he told me, so I was still not having my high school diploma back in time, but he told me like, "Hey, I'm setting up like a booking agency and like PR. Do you want to come and help me?" So that's how I started. And arriving in Paris, I started to have obviously much more of opportunities. So we're just like, taking a few jobs here and there. And it helps me to have quickly a great scope of understanding about what you can do in the music business and everything marketing communication related.
And was that you because you were particularly structured, or like what was attractive for these people to, why did they want to work with you?
I think because I wanted to work, probably at no price or not enough pricey. No, but I think like I think it really helps the fact that this person that bring me to Paris, we share like a this hometown that I don't know somehow created a connections, and that really helps. And from that point, it was much me like really willing to do some stuff and pushing to get this and that. Back in time, one of the first things I was working on was in a huge club in Paris that used to be called Showcase, and I was always the one coming, I don't know, like 2 or 3 p.m., starting to just install everything. And I was always the last one ended up doing everything. And like fun story about this, but it was one of the first time I've done that. And I was that involved in my task, like 4 a.m. Someone told me, "Hey, the DJ that should close the club is not there tonight. Can you DJ?" I was like, yeah, sure. So I started myself to go on YouTube, look for tutorial and doing this kind of crappy MP3 downloaded, and I just ended up like finishing the night, even though I've never met before. So I think I was really involved, and that probably helps.
Wow. Okay. And again, my first reaction to that was this guy's a pushover. But I got that's basically not what it was. I guess it's just you were passionate, like that you actually said yes to that much. Like why did you say yes to that much?
I don't know. I feel like it was never a question of is this like a work, or I never envisioned that as a work. So for me it was just like that's my passion, and I just it's fun, so let's do that. And I think also the idea of like always learning new stuff, um I don't know, it's just like keep drive you and say, okay, let's try, let's meet, let's try to do some stuff.
But have you always had that amount of energy?
Yes, think so. I think it's true now. I don't know, it's been like 10 years I'm doing that, so I think uh, it's not about saying yes to everything anymore, because I mean you have a company, there is people in your company, so you can't properly do that. But I feel if I was in the same positions and I still get some money, I will still get the same energy. So I don't know. I feel now I'm taking energy from like different angle, different perspective, but it's I think like what we're lucky about is like the music industry especially, and I would say like the any industry in general right now in 2025, it's evolving that quick, so that
Mm.
I feel like every day it's a new task, new something that you are learning, and that brings to me at least a lot of energy to just keep on going, always learning, and yeah, just yeah, it's new stuff every day, I will say.
Mm. Okay. But before we get into why what happened when you started the company and the initiation of that, could you just give us the status of your company right now? Like, how many employees do you have? What do you do? Sort of what's the status of your current company?
So now we're 12 people. We're all based in Paris. We have a few freelancers that are based out of the US as well, US and Asia. So we are slowly starting our international expansions. Right now, I would say the majority of the team is a tech team. So how do we grow audiences and convert those audiences into buyers is through social media ads mainly. So basically what we have created is a ad automation system where it just takes you a few minutes to run everything, I would say, in a high performing way. So by that, I mean like, creating all the custom audiences, A/B testing audiences, getting those reports, optimizing, etc. So we have created predictive AI models. We have a machine learning based optimization system. So we try to make everything as simple possible for the users. It is obviously quite complex in the back, but it's the idea to have this all-in-one platforms. And obviously, we are coming from a marketing agency background, and it's like social media based. But the idea is to say, how do we connect together the whole digital landscape that an artist and his partners could get? So that's what we're into.
Yeah, really interesting. And let's maybe just talk about how that happened. Did you just have an idea to go with three friends, or what was the introduction into that?
No, not at all. So, I mean, there is two story. The easy story is to say we had a marketing agency, and the idea with this marketing agency, it was we had a record label. So this record label, first budget, you go and you get to a marketing agencies. They ask for 5 grand, and you don't know what is happening with that. You're not really sure about the percentage, and everything take ages, etc. So we say, okay, let's just do that on our own. And even though we haven't any specific background of ever run any campaigns, we just started to do that on our own. But I think like a lot of people does in the music industry, it turns out that my colleague Matteo became very, very excited about that. So we had like one campaign, two campaign, very successful. And this artist started to reach out and bring some other friends like, hey, can you do marketing for us? So we eventually became a marketing agency, even though we haven't like think about this. So that's how it became. But the longer story, or actually what we intend to do at the beginning, was not your music marketing, but your music manager. And the idea, because I was also manager on the side, was how do we automate this whole messy landscape with, I don't know, like PRO registrations, duplicating files, label copy, and I mean, the hustle. And when I initially started that, because I don't have any tech background, any, I don't know, like startup background or whatever, I met with my friend Jules, who's coming from this like, like a business school, etc. They had like a couple of projects. He has already run a company. He was like, Clem, it's super cool, but I think we're never going to get any money. So maybe we focus on what you already do great with Matteo. And that's how we became your music marketing.
Oh wow, okay. So are you four in total or three in total?
Four, me and 3 other people. Yeah.
Great. Okay, but how did that go about? Like you said, you hadn't done this before, and no one had done it before, right? So you guys need to figure out what it meant to build tech and raise money and all that kind of stuff. Like, how did that go about?
So we were lucky because so at the beginning it was Matteo and I, with whom I've already done all my business before the marketing agency I was mentioning, and then I met with Jules, and Jules is more having like I would say product management background, and acquisitions, marketing related, and so he bring on our fourth colleagues, Simon, who was just out of a startup that he didn't found it, but he was one of the first tech employee, and they have done that for like 4 or 5 years. So we had a little bit of understanding about what the startup journey, how do you raise money, etc. So that's where we started. And another thing that really helped us a lot, especially in terms of how do you create a company, how do you get money, how do you apply to grant, etc., etc., is we started the company when we were in Bretagne, in France, and we have a very great ecosystem for the startup and something called a Technopole, which is basically here to help you free of anything. It's like a incubator, but they don't take any share in the company. It's just like something from the government. And that helped us a lot to get the first money and also just to get started. How do you create a company? How do you talk to the banks? If you need to go to despecialized banks, etc. So that's those two factors that really help us to not be on our own and just browsing on the web and see, okay, what's the next step.
Hmm. Okay. Wow. And how long ago was this?
So that was 2021.
2021. So what happened? Did you guys like all have your jobs on the side and you had a marketing agency and that slowly became a full-time thing? Or how did you transition into that?
Yeah, it takes some times. Yeah, like basically it was just on the side. I mean, all of us except Simon was a entrepreneur. We had another companies, so it was easier to just squeeze some day jobs sometimes to times. And Simon quit his job because the company he was working for before was acquired by a US company. So it was a good timing. And then I think we started to hire some people in the tech team. And then over time, so at the beginning, we didn't have any clients. It was mainly our marketing agency using for the automation. But at some point, like clients started to come, it requires more time, etc. So it's pretty new actually. But like 9 months ago, we merged our activities with the marketing agency, and now we're like full time on the project for less than years, I would say. But it takes some time.
Hmm. And how early in that journey did you raise capital?
So I think so. Like the founding journey started with initial funding from our region, and then national funding, then industry, government industry focused fundings. And it was just like, 5K here, 10K there, 30K there. So it was really like a step by step. And we started with the first like proper fundraising with Safe back in time. Uh, I think it was the end of 2022. So almost 2 years.
And could you tell me about that? Because obviously raising capital is really difficult, and I was in music tech. And I can't imagine this was easy either, but maybe it was. But how did that happen? Like, how much money were you raising? How much money did you ended up raising?
So it was very, very complicated. And I mean, complicated. I would say I get a lot of learnings from doing that. But the amount of energy and time you invest for this return on investment, which I think back in time, I mean, we were lucky, but maybe we get 10 people in the cap table for 100K, something like this, even less. So it took you a lot of time. And when you say, okay, I have seen, I don't know, like 50 venture capital, whatever seems, I have lost so much of my time. Obviously now I would do it very differently, but back in time, you're 24, 23, you're just like, my project is going to save the world. It's the most beautiful project. So obviously all the VCs, they want to invest in us. And then you realize that it's not like this. And I think I'm not sure about that, but I think when we started to raise, it was already the end of like post-COVID money, very easy to raise capital, people starting to look maybe further at the risk. And I don't know, maybe if we were 6 months earlier, it would have been more easy. I'm unsure, but yeah, it's always been very complicated. And maybe to finish on that, the thing is, as long as you haven't done it, you don't know how to do it. And no one's tell you don't spend your time talking to VC because obviously if you have just MVP and 10 clients, like no VC is going to be interested, at least for what we're doing. We're not going to save the world with music marketing. So yeah, it's a lot of time you invest. And I think like every new fundraising is also a lot of learnings because you are at a very different stage. But yeah, it took a lot of time.
Yeah, no, I'm always very baffled about like how people actually do it with their own companies. Like I've been an entrepreneur for many years, and for companies that we co-own, we've raised capital for around 8 of those companies. So we've done it a few times now, and relatively successfully. But I can take the learnings from all the other raises into new raises, and that makes it still hard, still difficult. and still like I need to pivot on the fundraising strategy multiple times. Okay, this is the direction we want to go for. This is the thing we want to go for, and then we try like, nope, not working. So even me, that's done it. We have, I think, almost 50 tickets over these companies. So basically, we have had 50 investments over these 8 companies, like in total. I still struggle with raising capital, like knowing what specific direction do I need to take this, and I need to change my mind multiple times. So I don't get how people do it for the first time, but really.
Yeah, and I think like the I don't know, like the issue is like I think everyone, I mean, let's say on the other side of the table, when you talk about like the investors, it seems for me that you always need to present like the most beautiful project. Like we started at this time and it took us 6 months and we get the project right at the beginning. Clients came in and yeah, we raised money, but like it was easy, good timing, good valuations. The reality is I'm pretty sure for 99% of the company, it's never like this, you know. It's always complicated. Like, honestly, everyone, I don't know why everyone is asking you how much do you want to raise when you're like, like just like not bootstrap, but at the beginning you don't generate revenue. What do I know? Like first time I was in a meeting with this VC who said, "Okay, I'm interested. So now, how much do you want?" I was like, "I don't know, 2 millions." And then you realize you're not our point. What will I do with 2 millions? But no one teach you those kind of stuff, you know?
No, it's really difficult, and I think one of the things that Music Tech Europe Academy is doing quite well is having a focus on startups with particular music focus, and um, I really love that they take this initiative because it is a long struggle not only to understand startups, but also music technology and startups, because that combination is also difficult. Because I'm going to assume most of your investors um, struggle to understand music, or like what kind of investors did you onboard?
I think, it's the basic, I would say, friends and family and few networks, especially during the first round. And now we have like, I would say like 4 or 5 like industry veterans or ex-executives and so on that are in the music. So they obviously understand. But I think before it's just like people that, I love your energy and I'm sure that no matter how you're going to find the right way.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think there's two things you can play on. Like if you're very early, you can either play on the story, personality, relationships, which oftentimes is what you have, and then when you get later, you also need to have the actual case, and oftentimes the domain expertise is what's standing in the way. So that makes perfect sense. Okay, so you raised a bit of capital. What did you use that on? Just like subsidizing your income, or did you have no income, or like what was the journey?
Yeah, that was totally to make sure that what is out at the end of the day, we can pay it. And I think that also another things on, the fundraising journey is like everyone expecting you to know, like I'm going to spend XYZ percentage on that. The reality is never like this. And, you just play around with stuff and you get a little bit of fresh capital and little bit of grants, but you're not sure if you're going to get this grant. And then you get some, I don't know, like, you need to manage with that and it just happen with what you have. But I would say that the majority of the investment was in the tech, which, now that I look back in time, I think you're always expecting to get the best product and to get this, I don't know, predictive AI stuff for our case. It was one of our first expenses. It cost us like crazy. I will never pay for that now. And the thing is, once we have the model, we didn't have the team to implement it all the time. So it was just waiting for like 1 year. And it was like, okay, I have burned like XYZ cash. And now I can't implement the things that I've built. So mainly it was tech. I think I will do it very differently now. And I would say for the more recent fundraising, it was more invested to sales related. So hiring someone, investing on the marketing side of the thing, getting some external resources as well.
Mm. Yeah, it's so difficult, and um, that also just speaks to the risk of this space. Like you're 4 years in, and there's still so much to learn, and the same with me. Like there's still so much to learn, things I don't know, and it just doesn't work with going back in time and changing that. So the people who are early investors, they take a bet, but even people who are late investors, like now later in your journey, they're still taking a bet, but maybe it's a different type of bet than it was before. So you hired some tech guys, built some technology. Did you go raise capital again, or what happened there?
What was the question? Sorry.
Did you go raise capital after that first round?
Yes, yes. We have. I think we have done three fundraising in total right now. So I think since the last fundraising, we've changed our mindset. With now the idea was, okay, we are raising capital, but now the idea is to reach break even or to have enough time to reach break even. So whenever, if we want to do fundraising next, we don't have to run after time. And if we take extra money, it's going to be to scale our business, either operation or sales activities, probably. But that was the idea with the latest fundraising.
You said you got like industry veterans on as investors. Is that the primarily of these new rounds, people who really knew the industry, or was it a mixture of investors coming on board?
So I think it was key for us to find people that could be relevant angels, of course, for the money, but also advisors, and that can help us to validate or to iterate around some ideas. So we started looking for those people. And also, it was a mix of, we have this product, we want to sell you this product for your company. And, maybe like the marketing person is going to talk to their founders or directors, like, hey, they're also fundraising, etc. And then it's, I would say, many word of mouth that happened.
Mm. Obviously, investors are one thing, but running a business and doing sales is another. How did you get into that? Did you feel like there was just immediate interest in your product and you just needed to build out the technology? What was the process from you went into the market and people starting buying it? What were the struggles you faced? What were the unexpected things that happened?
Do you mean to start to sell the product?
Yeah.
So, it's always hard to really back to all the struggles that you have because, it takes us like almost 3 years to get to that point where we know our sales pipeline, we can quantify, we know how much leads we need to get, what is our closing rate, etc. And now, I'm almost in like, okay, there is deal that happen, deal that do not happen, but we average good with what we know, and it's easy, it works or it doesn't work. So I think there was a lot of struggles. I think the most complicated is how much time you're losing just to keep pushing and pushing and pushing for people that A, are not going to bring you really money, and B, are just not interested in your product. So I think that is a big struggle to how do you invest your time properly? Because obviously as a founders, you don't have just sales activities and we name it, but just fundraising, etc., etc. So that was one of the things. And then the second thing, and I think, it's not an issue of a music tech, but I think it's a small market. So small markets means not a lot of potential customers. And also we're in an industry where it's still mixed with how much professional you have. People really generating money from their business and people that are as aspiring professionals and that are just investing on their own money just to get started and maybe one day having something that can generate money and turn into a business.
Hmm.
um, so I think it's a very complicated stuff because when we started we're like, okay, we're going to help all the independent artists, and then you realize that when you have an independent artist that puts 300 euros in an ad campaigns, first they don't know anything about marketing, so probably they're going to bring you like a horrible content that is not going to convert. And if you tell them that it's their fault, they're going to say, it's your product default. And then you have people that if they put 300 euros, it's maybe like a fifth of their salary, or it's real money. I mean, it is always real money, but we're not talking about the same scale. So I think we were a lot in this like stuff where there is those type of people, but then because of our background and the tech we're building, there is different companies, and it's how do you find a product that either match uh, everyone needs, because you think, okay, I'm in a small market, so I need to service the independent artists, but also the big companies. And then at some point you need to choose, because you can't have a product that works for both. So maybe to summarize, I think like investing too much energy in something that is not going to bring you return on investment, finding the right market fit, because I think that's what we're talking about. And once you find the right market fit, it's easier to work on your product roadmap. It's easier to optimize your sales pipeline, etc. So I would say that's those three one. And obviously the small music related market, but I think it's touching the point of which market you're focusing into as well.
So in reality, you sort of decided let's go to the customers that maybe has a bit more money and complains a bit less and have a bit more control on what they're actually doing. So did you ended up just going only B2B, or like what's your focus right now?
Yeah, we only do B2B. We knew a years and a half probably we wanted to move and focus to B2B, but it takes so much time because you're just changing your whole system, not just product, not just sales, but customer success, lead acquisition, etc. So it took some time. We're now full B2B, and yeah, I think the idea was not just like, okay, we're going to get those people because they get more money and they're like less complicated, etc. I think it's more like because of our background, together with Matthew, we were already working with big budget and servicing bigger companies. So it's kind of, came naturally that, okay, that's what we feel we are delivering the most value. And I think in the end of the day, it's the most important stuff. Whatever you do, it's just like, are you happy every day you wake up and you open your computer? And do you want to get, 10 people that say, hey, it's not working, or I'm not happy and whatever, or just people that, hey, thank you, that really helps what the advice you gave me, or whatever the product has done for me.
Hmm. No, I definitely see that. And I think, as an analogy, me and my business partner Taj always says that the bigger the investor, the less of the headache. And the reason why we say that, and I guess they can sort of be compared to what you're doing now with B2B, is um, it always hurts the most for clients when they're using the little they have.
Mm.
And I think that for me is, I really applaud people who spent, a lot of the time on B2C. Personally, I'm a very, very clear B2B guy, just primarily for that reason, really. It's just like it's difficult to being in that space emotionally and as a founder, because you take so much responsibility and ownership over your product and what you do, and it's difficult. I definitely see that. But how did your sort of co-founders react to all of this? Did you all handle the transition well?
I think that's the magic of having like four co-founders. Uh, I think like one of us is not coming from music background, so it's like, yes, okay, I feel like we're just going backwards, and it's not clear like the directions. Uh, but I think for the three of us that coming from a music background, it was more just like a relief, especially because the three of us were like customer facing, whether on the sales, on the acquisitions, or on the customer success. And at some point, like, when you have just to deal with whatever emergency, and also something that we don't say, but if you do like B2C, it's most likely that people are going to reach to you after works hours or on the weekend, etc. And that's another way of running the business. So I think when we just all sit and say, okay, we're going to focus on that because we have one or two customers that are very happy, and we see that there is a more traction for that. And we're not going to answer on the weekend. We're not going to answer after works. And we're just going to focus on what people enjoy and how they're happy that the products gave them, everyone was very aligned. But yeah, it's just takes time because it's not like, hey, we're just pivoting and we do B2B and tomorrow you just scrap another email database and you just change, it just takes a lot of time. And especially the bigger you get, because I think like 12 people, like now we're in the good in between, but it still requires a lot of coordinations and teaching also to the people, like, so that they understand. And it's not about, hey, we had an idea, let's do that. It's a lot about like, why are we doing that? How it's going to change for you, for us, between you and us. So, that takes a lot of time to do it properly.
Hmm. Yeah, I think for me that when running the things we've done, I think that's been the most difficult part for me. That's like, how do you navigate change with people? Because as a founder, you often sign up for the journey. And if you're surprised or unhappy, it's just on you. Like again, I'm responsible for my own unhappiness as a founder to a big degree. Uh, but that's different with employees because they did not necessarily sign up for, unless you were really really good at setting expectations and finding the right people, that things can change overnight. And what you thought would be doing would be something different. And um, it's hard to navigate a team like that. So even though you and your co-founders did agree at the end, okay, this is probably the best direction. How did the employees handle that? Was that like a natural transition for them, or was that also a struggle?
I think it's never a natural transitions, because you've been working on something for months, and I'm especially thinking about the acquisitions team, like the communication people, especially, that set up like a all like a strategic planning or strategic communications tones or whatever, the way you you talk with B2C, and it takes a lot of time to iterate. And at some point you're just like, okay, now I have found something that works, so let's scale, and out of everything we have learned the past years, we're going to do a better job. And now you come to them and you say, okay, everything that you have done for the last years, just forget about it. We're starting again. And in 1 year from now, maybe you can start and iterate. And it's kind of the same with the product. I mean, it's obviously different. And also now I think we have a lot of data within the product, so that helps a lot. Like, you can see the user sessions, how do they interact, etc. So maybe that makes it easier, but it's also about like, hey, let's just change everything you have done. And as you say, like, in the as a founder, you're just like down for anything that happens, but sometimes it can not touches your nerve, but just like create some frustration to say like, is my work really useful? And how do I make the most out of what I'm doing for the customer?
Hmm. Yeah, it makes sense. And well, I do applaud you guys for making that choice, because sometimes also founders struggle with doing the pivot and ended up that's sort of their demise. Yeah.
And I think also that, I mean, obviously there is always like beautiful story and people know from day one what they need to do, etc. But I think pivoting, is just part of the startup journey for everyone, most of everyone.
Mm. Yeah, I sometimes when I speak with young founders, they're very convinced about the idea. I try to use sort of the picture from my own journey. So I've always been great with ideas and concepts, and since I was young, and I've been a part of many startups now and consulting many startups, and now as a venture studio, we help build many startups. And I would say I'm way above average on concepts and ideas and understanding the context. I'm wrong 9 out of 10 times on that. Um, Not necessarily overall concept, but like execution and strategy. 9 out of 10 times I'm wrong. And I would say, with confidence, I'm way above average in quality, which means if you're a new founder, expecting that you're, completely right 1 out of 20 times is probably realistic. Like, if you sat down and made a plan from day one, and how much did that actually, pan out? Most likely nothing. And the pivot and the change is really the essence of the journey. And for us, that happens almost like every 2 weeks. We need to tweak something we thought would work and it doesn't, or maybe it's the timing, maybe it's the market. There's so many things that changes, right?
Definitely. No, and I think that it's also like, I think it's good when, especially in the founding team, but like, in a small company, it's good when everyone knows like what they're good at and what they're not good at. And I like, like every Wednesday we have our weekly with the team, and I'm just like, it's the roller coaster, and just like, okay, we're going to do like this, and no, we don't do like that and that. And I'm happy because they know that I'm this type of guy. And they're just like, okay, Clem, let's wait. We have put together a new roadmap. Let's wait at least 2 weeks, and then we can, switch and discuss. So I think it's great when you have this balance where, especially when you have like key stakeholders and people like taking decisions that, you know, understand each other and just balance the energy within the room. I think, at least for us, it helps a lot.
No, it makes a lot of sense. One thing that sort of me and my business partner have really implemented in our workflow, because we speak to a lot of companies and help build multiple companies, is we try not to give advice on what to do, because no one really knows, but we have a lot of experience of what not to do. So our angle on doing BD or building stuff is always like, these are the 100 things you probably shouldn't do. So let's steer away from that. But and then these are the 20 opportunities. We don't know which of them are the right ones, but let's at least try to eliminate as many like do nots as possible. And oftentimes, like that's the most sensible way of working a startup, because you just need to explore those solutions. You need to figure out what works and what doesn't. Um, that I guess marketing, that's the most prevalent thing, anyways, right? That's the A/B testing.
Yeah, it is definitely. And that's why I wanted to ask you, like, don't you think that even though you know that it's a don't, sometimes it's better to let people know by themselves that it is a don't at the end of the journey?
Absolutely. Again, my partner, he has a saying, he says, "Let them burn the ship." And sometimes it's just going to allow people to do that, because oftentimes a lot of the special things also there, like I've done things in the company that he has fundamentally disagreed with, that has turned out to be the best decision for our company. But again, 9 out of 10 times we disagreed, he was right. But like that one time where I decided this is a clear don't, but I believe I want to pursue this. That was the thing that really made a huge difference in our company. So you can't always use that rule, but you can. At the end of the day, if you look at startups, I try to not look at them as individual companies, how weird that may sound. I look at them as statistics to some degree. So what's the combined with, of course, the X factor of the founder and the market and all kind of stuff, what is the statistically the most reasonable route to take right now? And I think for me, I prefer to take the decisions based on that, because everything is so unknown. I might as well try to have the math on my sort of on my team as much as possible. And that's sort of been my approach, which turns often out to be fairly sensible. Yeah.
Hmm. I think like, it's again having like a well balanced founding team or just team in general can really help for that. And I totally agree with you. And, it's just like pure mathematics and statistics. Uh, but I think, and I'm not necessarily putting us in that position, and the future will tell us, but I think, you can do a good company by following statistic, but you can do an amazingly good company at following your instinct. And I think it's the mix of both that can really help, because if you just keep following your instinct, maybe if you're meditating 5 hours a day and still, I'm not sure it's going to do a good company. So I think it's, this mix that can really, really help.
And actually, one of the things, sort of to play off that, one of the things that I've been very like bullish on is I believe there's potential music and music technology as a venture studio. Um, when it comes to sort of looking at the financials, that was really hard to prove. And luckily, we have a few rich investors that were able to save for that a couple of times. Um, and then we say, okay, a year ago, okay, we need to sort of figure out some things outside music as well, and that's when things started to go well. Uh, but now we're in a point now where, because we have momentum from pursuing things outside of music that, traditionally speaking, are more healthy, both in financing, payment, all that kind of stuff, we're now going back into music with actually with actually some firepower, because we used outside of music in order. So I'm back to my bullish mission, but very much aware that I need to get my lunch somewhere else, and then I can, think long term with
Mm.
music. Um, yeah.
I think what is very, very complicated, and I don't want to steal you any thoughts because I think you were in this panel in Berlin. But you know, we talk music tech, it's just a tech and music is the vertical.
Hmm.
I'm not sure if it was you or someone from the panel that say that, but I think this is a very, very, very true statement. And the only thing that we could say, in my opinion, that is music related tech or whatever, in the end, it's fintech, because music is a asset business. And so you just need to get as much asset as possible. And then you can optimize whatever things, but this can apply to music, but not only. And I think that's the issue we always make when, we are passionate about music. And I think like the factors that make sense for that is that most of the music tech founders, they are passionate about the music. But I would be curious to have the same idea, but from someone that I've never done any music. Maybe they don't even play an instrument, and would they really name it music tech?
Hmm. Yeah, and probably not. And I think oftentimes that's sort of where people go wrong is that they're so colored by the love that they fail to differentiate between business and love. And you know, passion can drive things quite far, but like having a relationship with someone you together with for many years, like passion is definitely the foundation. Uh, but I have 3 kids. There's more to it than just passion. There's commitment, there's sensibility, there's intent. There's many things that's beyond just passion, and also like why is this good for both of us? Like there needs to be all these factors, and I think founders in music tech oftentimes forget that, and oftentimes they never get to a point where they're forced to think that it just fails. So this is sort of standing illusion about what it takes to be a music tech founder. It just takes to be a good founder, and then having some sort of angle on music, to be honest. So if the illusion of passion or love for music is overshadowing, I don't really see in any argument where that's a positive thing, to be honest. It's just blinding.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, Clem, where are you going with your company now? What's the next steps for the company?
So now we have this new brand name. We're going to roll out a couple of exciting stuff. From that point, there will be more and more AI based solutions. I mean, I don't like this like AI words like a lot of us, but I would say it's the most easy way to frame everything we're going to work around. But yeah, it includes like basically switching our predictive AI model, which is only turning in the back now, and bringing it more in the front so that it answer like real customers' issue. Benchmarking is something that a lot of people are asking to. Prediction is also like a big topic. So this is going to take a couple of the upcoming months. And the idea with Ctrl+Reach is also just not to stop within the music. We have started and have successful campaigns within audiobooks, for example, podcasts as well, which is in the end of the day exactly the same business. You bring people from Instagram to streaming services via a landing page. So that's going to be a focus. The live event as well. We have started only the music right now, but in the end of the day, it's also same ticketing system. You bring people with a specific audiences to buy a certain type of tickets. So I think that's going to be the focus to let's say to try new verticals. We're still like very much focused in the music. We have worked for this 3-4 years to build like a name for ourselves in the music to get those great customers. So it's going to be a top priority for us still. But we just want to keep exploring because now it's more like let's try like this, let's do a beta with this and that. But we see that some clients are very happy about that and they're requesting more functionalities around those verticals. So yeah, um, let's see where we are in 1 year from now. But it's going to take us a lot of our daily work, at least.
Yeah. And that's the really exciting things about startups, and also the terrible thing, really. Like you guys are now here where you're pretty recognized as a really exciting startup in this space. You have done a lot of right choices. You've onboarded a lot of right people, but still, the future is unknown. And um,
And I think also maybe to jump on that on the music side of the thing is just you need to accept that things takes time. And especially when you work with on the B2B, but with bigger clients, it's like I'm not going to push any of this multinational just to get in the product and buy the product. It's going to take times. But on the side, we are 12 people. We need to keep having new jobs. So I think opening new verticals, especially when you are in this like very small and niches market, it can really help to take some energy elsewhere. Because whatever you do in the music space, and it's the same for other verticals, it's just going to take times needs time, and it's not because you're forcing people to use your product that it's going to go quicker. So I think that's also one of the reasons why we are evolving and opening to other verticals.
hmm, that makes sense. And I think, if anything, that's really healthy for music, that we try to combine the efforts with music with other industries, and to some degree financing the long-term journey in music by having um, other income sources. And I think, that's just a parallel to being an artist, really. It's like, yes, you might have one focus, but there's other ways to make money as well. And it's not just play music. You need to sell merchandise. You need to engage with fans. And it's just not about creating music. There's many other aspects to it. And the same with startups. You might be passionate about your vertical, but um, at the end of the day, you need to make a great business, and not just stay loyal to what you believe is cool to work with. Um, Clem, thank you. It's been brilliant. I'm looking very much forward to sort of following your journey. And thank you for Music Tech Europe Academy for setting this up, this partnership episode. They've chosen you as a poster boy, and I understand why. So great, Clem. Hope you have success in the future.
Thank you very much. It was very great to talk, and yeah, we'll keep talking very soon in real life, I guess.